During the 1987 London soundcheck, someone found a child hiding behind the main speaker stack. She was 11 years old. She had been there for over an hour. No one had seen her come in. No one knew how she had gotten past the doors. What Tina Turner did when she found her has never been part of any official account of that tour. But the people who were in that room remember it. The Break Every Rule World Tour arrived in London in the spring of 1987 with the weight of a year's worth of momentum behind it. The venues were large. The production was substantial. The logistics of moving that many people and that much equipment through a city required layers of coordination that most audience members never see and rarely think about. Sound checks happened in the early afternoon, hours before doors, hours before the crowd, when the arena belonged entirely to the crew. The lighting engineers walked their grids. The sound team ran frequencies through the PA system. The band played sections of songs at volumes that the building had not yet been prepared to absorb. It was, in other words, not a time when anyone who was not supposed to be there should have been there. Her name was Lily. She was 11 years old, the daughter of a man named Thomas who worked venue security at the arena and had been on shift since 7 that morning. Thomas knew the building. He knew its rhythms, its entrances, its unlocked doors, and its unmonitored corridors. He had worked there for 6 years. He had, on occasion, brought his daughter to the venue on weekend shifts when school was out and there was no one else at home. There was no one else at home now for a different reason. Lily's mother had died 3 months earlier. A brief illness, the kind that moves faster than the people around it can process, that goes from something manageable to something unsurvivable in a span of weeks that afterward feels impossible. Thomas was still working because working was the only structure he had left. Lily was still going to school because school was what you did. Neither of them was all right. Neither of them knew how to say so. 3 months before she died, on an ordinary evening in their kitchen, Lily's mother had been listening to the radio. A song came on that she turned up without saying anything, the way people turn up songs that mean something, quietly, as though the gesture is for themselves. The song was "We Don't Need Another Hero." Tina Turner's voice filled the kitchen. Lily's mother stood at the counter and did not move for the full duration of the song. She did not explain what it meant to her. She did not need to. Lily was 11 years old, but she understood something in that stillness. Something about what it was to hear a voice that reaches you in a place you hadn't known was open. After the funeral, after the weeks of condolence visits and casseroles and the particular exhaustion of grief that is also administrative, Lily had gone back to school and tried to be the kind of child who was managing. She was not managing. She had found in the weeks since that the only thing that reached through the specific numbness of her loss was music. Not any music. That song. That voice. She had listened to it on repeat until her father gently asked her to use headphones. She had needed, in some way she could not have articulated at 11 years old, to be near the source of it. The morning of the sound check, she had watched her father leave for his shift and then followed him at a distance. Not deceptively, or not entirely. More the way children sometimes do things that they know are not permitted because the need behind the action is larger than the rule in front of it. She had found her way in through a loading corridor. She had moved along the wall of the arena, past equipment cases and cable runs and the organized chaos of a production in setup, until she reached the PA system. The main speaker stacks stood nearly 3 meters tall. The space behind them was narrow and dark and warm from the amplifier units. She sat down on the floor with her back against the speaker cabinet, and she waited. The sound check began. She felt it before she heard it clearly. The low-frequency warmth of a large PA system at working volume, traveling through the floor and the cabinet behind her and into her back and her rib cage. And then the voice. Not recorded, not through a small speaker in a kitchen. The actual voice in the actual room at the actual volume it was designed for. She did not move for 40 minutes. It was a guitar technician who saw her first, a young man named Derek who had been running a cable along the back of the stage and had taken a wrong angle and found himself in the narrow space behind the stack. He stopped when he saw her. She looked up at him. Neither of them said anything for a moment. Derek did not immediately call security. He looked at the child on the floor, small, still, with a particular expression of someone who is in a place they shouldn't be, but is run completely out of the energy to pretend otherwise. And he made a calculation. He went to find someone else first. He found Tina Turner's personal assistant, who found Tina Turner. Tina was between run-throughs, standing at the side of the stage with a bottle of water and her stage monitor notes. The assistant delivered the information in a low voice. Child behind the speaker stack, 11 years old, doesn't appear to be in distress. Tina handed the water bottle back and walked toward the speaker stack. She came around the side rather than through the gap where Derek had entered. She crouched down to approximately the level where Lily was sitting. Lily looked up at her. What Lily saw, at that angle, in that light, was not the performance version of Tina Turner. It was a woman in rehearsal clothes, leggings, a simple top, flat shoes, crouching on a concrete floor behind a speaker stack and looking at her with an expression that contained no anger and no alarm. Tina asked her name. Lily told her. Tina did not ask how she had gotten in. She did not ask where her parents were, or what she was doing there, or how long she had been sitting on that floor. She asked one thing. She asked if Lily was all right. Lily, who had been holding herself together with the particular precision of someone who has learned that falling apart in public has a cost, who had been managing, at school, in front of her father, in front of the neighbors and the teachers and the people who kept asking if she was doing okay, did not say yes. She shook her head. Just that, one small motion. No, I am not all right. Tina Turner sat down on the floor beside her. Not nearby, beside. Her back against the speaker cabinet, the same as Lily's, her legs extended the same way, the concrete floor under both of them. She did not ask Lily to explain. She did not offer any words that were shaped like comfort. She simply sat beside a child who was not all right, in the narrow, dark space behind a speaker stack in a London arena for approximately 6 minutes. At some point during those 6 minutes, Lily said that her mum had liked the song. That was all she said. Her mum had liked the song. Tina Turner did not say anything for a moment after that. Then she said, she had good taste. After the 6 minutes, someone came to say the band was ready to continue. Tina stood. She looked at Lily. She said, "Stay as long as you need to." And she walked back out to the stage. Lily stayed through the rest of the sound check. She stayed until the lights changed and the crew began their pre-show preparations, and the space was no longer something she could remain inside invisibly. Thomas found her in the corridor outside the loading dock. He did not speak for a long moment when he saw her. He understood, without being told, approximately what had happened and why. He did not tell her she should not have done it. He took her home. The things that music does, the actual work it performs in the lives of the people who receive it, is almost never captured in the documentation of a career. The chart positions, the sales figures, the Grammy Awards, and the attendance records and the critical assessments, these are the measurements that the industry uses because they are measurable. But the real work happens in kitchens and in cars and in the narrow, dark spaces behind speaker stacks where an 11-year-old girl sits on a concrete floor and waits for something to reach through the place where her mother used to be. Tina Turner's music did that work for millions of people across decades. In auditoriums and in headphones and in rooms she never entered, for people she never met, at moments she would never know about. And once, in London, in the spring of 1987, it did that work in a way she was present for. She sat down on the floor. She stayed 6 minutes. She said she had good taste. And then she went back to work. If this story moved something in you, share it today with someone who needs to be reminded that being heard is sometimes the whole thing. Subscribe to this channel. Leave a comment. Has music ever reached you in a moment when nothing else could? We tell these stories because they deserve to be told. We'll see you in the next one.